We are at Giga-Bites Cafe in Atlanta, Georgia, and what is really the last hurrah because the store is moving into a bigger space, so probably the next time I make a video, this will all be gone. But we're moving on to bigger and better things, so everything's good. We are testing out the new Orbital Defense Laser mission. I've got Brian here, my regular opponent. I also have to explain this mission. We're playing on a 4x6 board. You can play it on a 4x4 board. There are 4 objectives, just regular old objectives, that are in these buildings that are in the corners. You're deploying on the long edges. Then in the center, there's the Orbital Defense Laser. It's a focal point. So if you contest it, if you have at least one ground unit somewhere near it, you get 1 point. If you control it, which is you have more ground units than anybody else, you get an additional 2 points. That'd be a total of 3 points. These are regular objectives. 1 point if you find it, 2 points if you get it off the board, I think. That's about it. The main thing is there's a lot of extra stats for the Orbital Defense Laser. You can't use flame weapons on it. Any infantry inside it is immune to falling masonry. And also if you control the laser as the occupier, you can shoot it in a straight line, and it counts as an Energy 13 Demolisher 15 shot, which will blow up most buildings. One other detail. These large buildings in the corner with the objectives are all hardened buildings, so they are armor 8 instead of armor 6. Anything else? I think that's about it for the scenario. We'll be back in a second with the armies. Alright, my name's Cameron. This is my PHR list, and for this mission I decided to make kind of a weird list. I decided to take all the units in the PHR army that maybe people weren't huge fans of or weren't as popular, try to put as many of them as I could into one list. So here we go. I've got a Zeus with a level 3 commander and a Hyperion with no transport. I've got 4 Mercury drones with 2 Tritons that have Skyhammer missiles and the stealth missile upgrade. I've got 4 Walkers and a Poseidon. That's 2 Phobos, 2 Mencheats, and 2 Ares. The Mencheats and the Ares are in the same squad. The Phobos are in a separate squad, all sharing the same transport. I've got 2 Immortals and a Triton, and 2 Immortals and 2 Angelos Skimmers. I've got 4 Janus Walkers in Tritons, and a squad of Sirens in Triton with miniguns. And I've got 2 Tyrannus artillery tanks, and 2 Helios Skimmers in a Neptune. We'll be back with Brian's list.
So I'm playing Shaltari today, and I've got a pair of War Spears for my air group. It's going to be 2 separate units of 1 each. Then the gate group, nothing terribly surprising there. 1 big gate, 2 mediums, 3 small spirits, and then 1 Haven. And then I've got 1 armored battle group with the Dream Snare, and then an infantry battle group with Kukris, and then this infantry battle group has got 2 infantry units and Kukris, and then of course the ubiquitous Coyote Commander as well. I like Tomahawk heavy units, as you can see. Yeah, they are fragile, but I think the speed advantage outweighs that fragility. So we'll see how it works out.
All right, we'll be back on turn 1. Okay, end of turn 1. This is our first time playing this mission, so it's already starting to plan out in a way that I wasn't expecting. So we've got this defense laser here, and clearly we want to get infantry in there. So both of us moved all of our... I figured the infantry would be getting in on like turn 1 and starting to fight each other, but you know, thinking this through, actually both of us moved our AA forwards to prevent enemy infantry from getting inside. So now the infantry can't really get inside. They're all like hiding back here, and the AA are facing off with each other. So now we have to bring tanks in to blow up the enemy AA so that our transports can get in and get the laser. So it's going to be a huge battle in the middle here. For my purposes, I brought my 2 Angelos here. They put their infantry in there. They were just barely in range to put them out in the open and then have them embark into the building. The Angelos shot that building, actually did 8 damage to it, despite it being a hardened building. I rolled really well. Did not damage any of the infantry inside. My Mercury drones are here. They're deployed out. I deployed out the Phobos squad from this Poseidon. My commander and my Hyperion walked on. The Hyperion shot one of his Tomahawk tanks way down on that side of the board. Got a good shot off, and he didn't get the skimmer bonus because it's turn 1. He just teleported out this turn. The Janus Walkers are deployed out here for an AA screen. Helios are here for an AA screen. Sirens are inside this transport, and put a unit of Immortals in here to get that objective, and my Tyrannus are sitting back there. Okay, so what'd you do?
So I brought my first infantry battle group up here with the Spirits and the Kukris. The infantry haven't deployed yet because it's too far the range, but I'm hoping to get into there pretty soon. So same sort of thing. I've got pretty intense AA bubble here. Got my tanks in, and then I had my commander walk in, and had one infantry Haven over here walk in, and basically just brought everything in.
Oh, I forgot about your Haven.
Yeah, hiding way over there. And then I was able to get into this one building here. This is going to be pretty intense conflict here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'll be curious to see.
Yeah.
All right, see you at the end of turn 2. End of turn 2. So right at the beginning, Brian kind of went for it. He took 2 of his Spirit Gates and tried to make a run through my reaction fire AA to get to the door there, and didn't make it. So I shot down 2 of his Spirits. That took all my Januses and both my Helios. It's pretty much all my AA for the turn. But both of his War Spears didn't come in, so I was free to use those reaction fires without having to worry about his fast movers coming on the board. Well, let's go across. The Mercury drones moved up so that they can spot for their Skyhammer missiles there, but they're also in a line back here to help with the objective searching. These guys actually rolled, normally it'd be a 6-up on their first turn in a large building, but they had the Mercury drones, so it was a 5-up. They hit the 5, so they got back in the Angelos. The Angelos shot that building, did 3 damage points, killed 1 Brave. These guys all disembarked. The men cheats are just going to be useless this game, like really useless. This thing's immune to flame weapons, and all his infantry are on the back corner of the board, and there's no way they're getting back there to do any flaming, so they're basically just focal point scorers and can't really hurt anything, which is kind of sad. The Ares got out there. The Phobos took some shots at Tomahawk tanks, didn't do anything. This Hyperion took a shot at a Tomahawk tank. I don't think he killed anything either. These guys hid to get her out of his range of his AA. The Janus fired at the Spirit Gates and then moved over there. Helios fired at the Spirit Gates, moved around the corner a bit. The Sirens got into this building because I was really, really worried about their transport getting shot down. It's kind of trapped right now. There's no way for it to get out of there, so it's just hiding as best it can from all those AA tanks. Sirens were in the building. He moved back. The Tyrannus shot that building over there, and I don't think they did like a couple damage. And they searched for the objective, didn't find it, and then went to the back wall to protect against fast movers. Alright, what did your army do?
Basically kind of shuffled around. A misunderstanding on my part as far as the hot LZ rule. I did not know that applied to friendly units as well.
Well, no, the hot LZ rule doesn't.
But the
landing rule does.
Exactly.
So you need to, even if there's a friendly tank there, you still need to be able to fit the landing template in order to drop guys off.
So one of my spears was, so the spears were not optimally placed. So I had to get in closer to his AA range. So I lost those 2 spirits, but I was still able to get out one of my infantry units over here using the Haven that was on the back side over here, because I assigned that Haven to that infantry battle group, so the Shaltari flexibility kind of kicked in there. I was able to find this objective as well, and I did some gate shenanigans and leapfrogged my Dream Snare farther forward to continue to protect the Tomahawks, and then I'm starting to plink away at his Phobos. 4 shots, 4 hits, only 1 point of damage on 1 Phobos. So
yeah, a little below average there.
Yeah, that was kind of irritating, but still in a fairly good position. Still waiting to get my War Spears out of reserve, so hopefully that'll come in soon and I can start doing a little bit more damage here.
Alright, see you at the end of turn 3. End of turn 3. Alright, so over here, last turn my guys found the objective with the help of the Mercury drones, and they were in their Angelos. His War Spears came on, did 1 damage to 1 Angelos, which is represented here. There we go. And then they drove off the board with the objective, so I got that objective. These guys fired at the Dream Snare, which had walked into range of the Zeus and the Hyperion, did 2 damage to it. The Mercury drones moved around the side here. The 2 gunships fired on them. They were out of range of the Dream Snare, so they didn't get the bonus to their passive save, and they killed 1 Tomahawk. Skyhammers just completely missed. These guys fired. The Phobos held off to try to shoot the War Spears, but they didn't end up coming into their firing arc, so they didn't really do anything. The Ares killed one of his AA tanks over there that had moved into line of sight. The Menchets did nothing because they're useless. The Janus really didn't shoot it much either because they were holding off to shoot at the War Spears, but they moved back a little bit to get out of the way of that Dream Snare because it has a 9-inch gun, so they wanted to get out of range. The Helios moved around the corner and killed 1 Kukri AA tank. Then my Sirens used to be in here. He shot at them once with a Kukri. It didn't kill the transport as it was hovering there, waiting for the Sirens to get out of the building. And I managed to kill 1 of the Kukris over here, so we had 2 remaining. So I decided to go for it and just make a run for the laser. He shot the transport down, but he decided to do it here. So he shot it down, it crashed, but that was still within range for the Sirens to jump into the lasers. The Sirens are now in the laser, and both of the squads there survived the crash. So Sirens are in the laser now. Those Kukris moved around, shot the building some. The Tyrannus shot that building over there, did some damage to it, killed a couple of Braves. These guys didn't find the objective. I think that's it for me. So what do you have?
Not a heck of a lot. Used quick thinking to move my Tomahawks and takes a couple of pot shots and then come around the building. So that's why they're off to one side here. Was able to find 1 objective, so I've got it here on the Spirit, and I'm going to be evacuating it here shortly, and then redeploy some of my infantry with the gates over here to look for this second objective.
It was the infantry that were in that building, right? So you moved them through the Spirit to the Haven that's parked back there and into that building.
Right. Okay. And then I used call for extraction to recycle a Spirit. So I've now got a little bit more transportation, and then basically just move everything up. If I had been thinking, I would have tried to nail that Triton
right there
around the corner. There was no real good reason to get it any closer. I was within range the whole way. I just didn't really think that, just did not think that through. So that was just a critical error on my part. So I'm going to have to work hard to recover from that.
Your Coyote shot my Helios, right? That's where that damage came from?
Yeah, and then the Dream Snare took a pot shot, and...
something shot the Ares. It was either the Tomahawk or the Dream Snare.
It was the Dream Snare.
Okay, and then I had a damage on one of my Phobos, but I used a field repair card and repaired it.
Yeah.
His War Spears came in like that, and they both survived.
Yeah.
All right, is that it?
Yeah, that's it for this turn.
All right, see you turn 4. End of turn 4. All right, my Angelus did not come out of reserve this turn. My command group shot some tanks over here. I don't think they did any damage. Is that right? The Mercury drones shot some missiles over here, did 0 damage. The Ares managed to finish off his Dream Snare, so that's finally dead. The Helios saved their shots for his fast movers. Didn't end up needing them at all. The Sirens activated and shot the space laser down this way, completely blew up that building, did 30 damage to this building, so it was hanging on by a thread, killed a couple Braves in there. Braves are ridiculously survivable inside buildings. And then he managed to, he had 2 infantry squads in there. He activated 1, didn't find the objective. I activated my Tyrannus, rolled horribly, and could not finish off the 3 damage points left in the building. He activated the 2nd infantry, found the objective. It's in the Haven there, so it's going to get off the board. There. Oh, it had 2 left.
It only had 2 left.
Only had 2 left. Wow, man, so close. So yeah, that's what happened there. These guys also failed to find the objective, and he came in with his war spears and took a damage point off one of my Tyrannus. The infantry took small arms fire shots at them and did nothing. Whew. All right, what do you have?
All right, so I was able to find one objective, and then the other one that I had found previously, I was able to get it off the board. And basically, he did eventually get my Dream Snare, but not before I was able to take out one of his phobos.
Both phobos.
Yeah, then the Tomahawks took out the other one, so I definitely put a crimp in his AA, so I'm fairly happy with that. He's got that unit of sirens inside the laser. That's going to be entertaining, but to make things more entertaining, I decided to play Underground Monorail on this building and connect it to the laser, and I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this next turn.
It's going to be great, because if he activates first, he can monorail over and start a CQB. If I activate first, I'm just going to blast the building and potentially blow it up completely. So yeah, that'll be really fun to see who wins initiative.
Yeah. Which is why I take a high-value commander.
The game's still pretty tightly balanced, because I haven't been able to get my objective off here, and it's pretty close in terms of who gets the focal point, so it's still pretty close. Even despite the fact that I have the laser, I think it's still going to be tight.
Yeah.
All right, see you turn 5. End of turn 5. So he ended up winning the initiative. So his guys took the monorail, got in there, and then he also used a freaking scout gate drone to put another squad of 2 in there. And then later on in the turn, brought, what was it, a spirit gate or
a haven?
Yeah, a haven gate that was driving on because he had played a call for extraction card. Shaltari, because of the way they work, don't actually need
dedicated.
They don't have to have dedicated transport, so you can just extract people at will. Just keep calling for extraction. So now he's got 3 or 5 bases of Braves in 3 squads, all in there fighting the Sirens, and that's going to go down next turn. Since he was able to extract the objective out of that building, by the time I got to fire, there wasn't really much to do, so just for fun, I blew up that. That took 15 damage, and that one took 30, so that's completely destroyed. Over on this side, these guys ran out of Skyhammer missiles, so they're just shooting stealth missiles now. They did nothing, I think. I think the Ares managed to take out one of the Tomahawks, right? It was an Ares.
Yeah.
These guys did nothing. The Helios managed to take out one of the War Spears when it came in for an attack run. The Tyrannus have nothing to do, so they're just driving. They're probably not going to play much role in the game at that point. I think that's about it.
All right.
What have you got?
So, yeah, I was able to take out his Phobos and
that Ares there.
Yeah, and one of the Ares, and I was able to take out one of the Helios, and then with only one Helios left, I decided that the only thing that it would be useful for my War Spears to do is just do a Wild Wizard run and go straight for the Helios. I have the range, so I got my shots off first, but I did no damage, and he was able to take down one of my War Spears, so... and then, of course, I got my entire surviving infantry into the laser. So, yeah. Shaltari, they're a thing.
Nice. All right, we'll see you at the end of the game. Oh, yeah, I found this objective, and it got off the board. So I've got both of the objectives on my side now.
Right, and I've got both of it on mine, so we're now basically...
It's just coming down to this focal point in the middle.
Yeah.
All right. All right, end of the game. Let's see what mattered. I managed to kill one more Tomahawk, I think, with my various shooting. He finished off my last Ares. My Helios lived. My Angelus came on the board here. My Tyrannus took a couple shots and killed a Kukri. Anything else? Vehicle-wise, I think that's roughly it. And then we had the CQB. I actually rolled kind of bad, so I lost 5 Sirens. I killed 1 base of his infantry. So that's how that ran out. So basically, we all got our objectives off. He got 2 back there, that's 4 points. I got my 2, that's 4 points. So it really just came down to whoever controlled this focal point here, and he just has too many ground units here. So I had about 250 points worth of guys. He had about 500. Those Mercury drones count because of their special ability. So victory to Brian. Congrats.
All right.
So yeah, debrief. How do you think it went?
This is a particularly interesting scenario. It's the first time we've played it. I like the scenario. I did make some critical mistakes. But I was able to recover, and I was able to recover because of the Shaltari flexibility of not having dedicated transports. I was also very lucky in that I got 2 call for extraction cards in my first draw of 4, and I was able to replace the transports that got destroyed. And the fact that my transports aren't dedicated and I can shift everything around definitely made a huge difference. But yeah, my mistakes were those first set of spirits there, not properly positioning them and then allowing them to be destroyed. If I'd gotten in there first, I would have used the laser to take out the buildings that had his objectives as quick as possible, which would have been a pretty decisive move first off. I'm overall pleased with the units. The Dream Snare did what it was supposed to do, which is draw fire and keep the Tomahawks alive. Being able to leapfrog it forward with the gate is a useful tactic. I like the Tomahawks. As I said before, I think that speed can be very useful. Trying this with Tarantulas, I think it would have had basically the same result though. I would have still had more units in the center to contest it. Being able to get the underground monorail certainly helped. Being able to get the Scout Gate drone was a huge help, especially against the Sirens. But I think the most critical thing was some incredibly bad dice rolling here on this building. This building had 8 points of damage on it, and then Cameron turned the laser on it and did an additional 30 points. So it was down to its last 2 damage points.
And I hadn't fired my Tyrannus yet, so I had 2 Tyrannus firing at it. They both hit. It's a hardened building, armor 8, and there's a strength 10, and so I need 3s, and I rolled a 2 and a 1. So I couldn't get those last 2 points of damage. He got the objective, got off the board, and that ended up winning the game for him. In the end, because
and the winning of the game was being able to get those infantry squads out and survive, and get them back into close combat to contest the laser.
Yeah, exactly. So from my perspective, this was a really weird list, and I think the lesson to take home from this is that if you're playing a focal point mission, especially as PHR, you can't drive too many units on the board, because you look at what I have. These guys drove on. These guys drove on, those guys walked on, because they had a role to fill taking an objective off the board. They weren't going to make it to the middle, even though they have good speed. These guys weren't, because they can't move and shoot, so they need to sit in the corner shooting. And these guys, even though they have a big long range, the Hyperion has infinite range. It killed a couple guys, but like, when it all came down to it, that's too many units that I couldn't get to the center of the board and contest the focal point with. And that was one thing, but even with that, we were still tied on objectives. So if I could have gotten to the center with more units, I might have won this. So the lesson here is take dropships. Don't get too greedy and walk too many units on. Overall, this list wasn't bad. And another lesson to take from this is that this list didn't have much anti-tank. It had a lot of kind of utility things and weird units, and had 2 Ares and these 2 guys, and then like the gunships there. And it was still fine. Like, I was still killing a lot of his anti-tank units. I was completely holding my own. So another recommendation, again, for PHR players is don't go overboard on the anti-tank. If you position your anti-tank well, you're still going to win and kill a lot of guys. Fun mission. It's really fun. It didn't quite play out how I expected. I was expecting more of a fight, infantry fight early on, but it's actually, assuming both players are smart and move some anti-air into the center of the board, it's really, really difficult to get your infantry inside the laser because of the anti-air screens that you can put up there. And it was only because of a mistake on Brian's part that I was even able to get my guys in there. Normally it'd be very, very difficult. So I think the way this is going to play out normally is you're going to have 2 people having like a tank battle to try to take out the other person's AA, and then that'll open up room for the infantry to get in, which will control the laser, which, if they haven't claimed their objectives yet, will allow you to blow up the building potentially and maybe win the mission.
Right.
Or if not, then you just end up having a big fight in the middle, which is what happened for us.
Right. And the one thing I would say is that in general, on focal point missions, your most expensive ground units are your AA to begin with.
Right, yeah.
So taking them out as early as possible does two things for you. It allows you the freedom to move in your transports and your fast movers, and denies the enemy, mission points for controlling the objective. Side note, for a Shaltari player, this is absolutely critical because your tanks are vulnerable to AA. That's a downside of the Tomahawks. It's a known downside, but you just gotta. That just makes taking out the AA that much more important for a Shaltari player.
Then in terms of my list, I'll just go through some of the weird units. The Hyperion, it was actually good. I was surprised at the amount of shots I was able to get off with it. It was shooting something pretty much every turn for the whole game. Killed a couple guys. It did okay. Its real downfall was the fact that I didn't take a transport. So if you're going to run Hyperions, especially with a Zeus, I'd still take that transport. Because if you run into one of these focal point missions, you're going to need to get them somewhere other than your board edge, or else you might lose the game. Angelos, kind of a weird unit. Wasn't greatest for an objective mission, because if you're going to be spending time with them ferrying infantry off the board, then their guns aren't going to be doing much. And especially in this mission, where every building that you'd want to kill is like ridiculously strong, even those demo weapons don't do that much damage. They're okay. I think they'd be better in another mission. It's kind of hard to take them in a general purpose list because of those drawbacks. Tyrannus I kind of like. They can actually do okay anti-tank as long as you have a spotter somewhere down the field. Mercury drones do the job for them. They have good line of sight, and they're not a very high priority target, so they tend to live. And they're pretty good at blowing up buildings, especially if you're on a mission where you don't have all these hardened buildings. If you focus a building, you can take it down in a couple turns with a couple Tyrannus. So I don't know. I might start playing with them some more.
I like Tyrannus for my PHR army just because you do have that ability to fire indirectly, so they can have a tendency to sit back, and hide, and it's very useful. It's also a template weapon, okay, which is fairly rare in the game. So I actually like the Tyrannus.
Yeah, but that's only strength 3. That's really weak.
Still,
yeah,
it's a template weapon.
That's true.
And there are not many of them.
The drones are okay. They help me find an objective. They were able to contribute to the focal point. No one wants to waste time shooting them because they're an air unit, and you have to shoot a separate gun at each one. And they're not like drones, like the Star Sprite drones, where you can hit a whole bunch of them with one unit. You have to send a different unit at each one. Just the fact that they can contribute to any mission, the fact that you get these Skyhammer missiles firing indirectly, which can hurt some stuff. As a gunship unit, and then especially if you take them in conjunction with a Tyrannus or maybe a Hades, so that they have some synergy and they act as a good spotter, I think they're decent. I think they're definitely a decent unit. I might take them again. These men cheats, though, just like I can't think of any use for them in a mission like this. Even let's say, because this thing's immune to flamers, so it can't do anything with them. Even let's say if I just went straight for one of his objectives, I went straight across the board. Let's say they were in a Neptune or something. That's still, they're not disembarking until turn 3, and they're going to start flaming on what, turn 4? And by then, chances are he might already be gone with the objective. So they're just terrible at this mission. I don't know. They need some work. But yeah, this list, despite the fact that it had all these weird units in it, it still did just fine. It was a decent list. I'd only tweak it by taking some more transports. Maybe drop something. I don't know. But it's not bad at all. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Big thumbs up to the laser mission. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun mission, and it's a great piece of kit as well. So this one is still a bit of a work in progress, but you can see where we're going with it. And if you haven't noticed, there's one additional terrain piece out there. We'll just leave that as is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, neither do I.
All right. See you guys next time.